This episode of SpectreSoundStudios is brought to you by DistroKid.
Social isolation. To nerds, business as usual.
Hey everybody! Hope you're enjoying your social isolation lockdown. It's Friday. It's time for viewers' comments. Before we get going, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that fucking subscribe button. It just makes life so much easier for me trying to grow this channel, trying to reach more people, and I need your help to do it. Anyway, let's skip the bullshit and get right to it.
On the topic of presets and overproduction, I went on Spotify the other day and checked out some new top metal tracks or something playlists, and I shit you not, I could not tell 98% of those bands apart. Everyone had the same guitar tone, the same drum tone, the same vocal style, and it's basically almost the same riffs. It's bizarre. There's no way to say this without sounding like a hipster, but part of the reason I've gravitated more towards doom and black in recent years is at least it sounds different from the modern metal ubiquity that I keep hearing.
I think there's some real truth to that. I think we ran into the same problem in the 90s with a lot of the death metal bands sounding exactly the same. That's why I got into the more stoner genre. You know, it's like instead of checking out the most minor variant on the death metal theme, I was getting into Caius and Orange Goblin and the Atomic Bitchwax and all these weird fucking bands that had their own thing going on. Caius especially was just on its own fucking planet, which was great. Now, I'm not gonna say all modern metal sounds the same. That would be completely unfair to the genre, but I don't think I listened to enough of it to form an educated opinion on the subject. So I will put the question to you guys. What do you think is out there that sounds different from the other bands, even though it is quote unquote modern metal? I've said this numerous times before. Presets are great, but they're not great to put on an album. And I think a lot of people miss that point. I want to know from you guys though, what out there do you think sounds unique? Okay, next up, we're going to do something we haven't done in a while, and that's take a video question. This coming from the Anti-Lemon.
5-year subscriber, I love your content. I mix on earbuds, make them sound decent. Then I bring it out to my car, sounds like garbage. Then I make it sound decent again, only to find when I go to a third source, sounds like garbage again, and I'm getting really burnt out on doing this for 2-minute videos on YouTube. If I get something like the NS10s and I can make my mix sound good through that, will that then translate to all systems? Or am I always going to find myself jumping from system to system to check it out and see if it sounds good? Thank you, sir.
Well, isn't that the $1 million question? Thanks so much for the video content there. I thought that was great. Nice work with the cutaways, dude. I wish I had that kind of storytelling skill with a camera. I'm just not that good. Well done, man. Anyway, to answer your question, it's going to help, but it's not going to be the be-all, end-all solution. NS10s work because they sound like shit, and if you can make something sound good on something that sounds like shit, it's probably going to translate a lot better to a lot of different systems, but you're not going to have a clear picture of what's going on with the bass. Like in my early days, I mixed on NS10s and I had a subwoofer along with that, and I found that was a big help, but it still didn't help me very much in the long run because my first studio is that had a massive null position in the bottom end, right where I was mixing, and I had a huge problem with the bass in my first studio. When I moved out here, it wasn't quite as bad. You're always going to want to check your mixes on other systems, no question about that. The car stereo, primarily. I see you were checking a mix in the car stereo and you were mixing on a laptop. Here's an idea while you're mixing, hook your laptop up to your car stereo and check your mixes that way and make any changes that way, because you're gonna get a much clearer picture of what's going on with the bottom end in your car stereo, believe it or not, because it's a wonderful acoustic environment for checking that shit. Even top level major label mixes often are checked on car stereos. Basically, if it sounds good in the car, it sounds good everywhere. Now, when it comes to buying monitors, yes, NS10s will do the job, but I'd highly recommend the Kali LP6s or LP8s. They are fucking great, they're super affordable, and they will definitely get the job done. I've done several videos with them. I definitely recommend checking them out. You're gonna like them.
Hey Glenn, I've noticed you have YouTube ads before and during your videos, but you still swear. Has there been a shift in YouTube policy, or do they just allow it because you have a shitload of subscribers?
No, I can still get dinged every now and then, but I swear a lot more because I've got such awesome support from my patrons. They kind of underwrite the whole thing, so if I do wind up getting demonetized, it's not gonna be that big of a hit. Thank you so much to all my patrons. You guys fucking rock. And another question, this time from Australia. Check this out.
Gleno! I watched a video from Rick Beato recently where he said that the optimal kick drum depth for rock music is 14 inches, and he said that it was a good idea, if it's more than that, to cut it down so that it can keep it snappy and punchy before you get it into the computer and attack it with plugins. Just wondering if you think I ought to cut my kicks down. Thanks, and fuck you, Glenn, from down under.
That's amazing. I've never actually heard of that before. Are you doing rock? Are you doing metal? That's the big question. I mean, like, I've had a drum builder on the show a couple years ago. I went to his place just outside Toronto. We checked a lot of things out, and he was recommending a 14-inch kick drum, especially for double bass. Before you get out the Sawzall and start altering your drums, I'd say see if you can borrow or rent a 14-inch kick drum. Try that out and see how you like it before you go making any kind of alterations on your drums. I mean, like 16 by 22 is kind of the standard size, and that's kind of what I've worked with for a number of years, and it's never been a problem. I mean, like, just good tuning, good heads, good mic, and most of all, good drummer are gonna make all the difference in your drum recordings. That and get Drum Leveler, or check out the new compressor coming out from AIX. It's pretty freaking outstanding. But yeah, definitely try a 14-inch kick drum before you make any kind of commitment.
I wish I could take a Judas Priest record and sample and replace all the drums, then destroy all other copies and force Glenn to live with it.
Well, if this were Game of Thrones, I think we just figured out who King Joffrey would be.
I like your live stream, but you need Jesus Christ into your life while we still have time, especially now with this coronavirus pandemic going on. We are in the last days! I'm trying not to get you mad, but you do need to think about it. Meanwhile, stay safe. Oh, I do believe recording and listening on real acoustic drummers. I don't care much for drum machines and such, rock on.
Well, despite what your giant book of superstitions says, no, we're not in the last days. We will survive this. Not all of us, but most of us will.
Haven't watched the channel in over 9 months. New camera, new hilarious sound effects, new hilarious video transition effects. I've been missing out.
Well, thanks very much for checking things out, Mr. Jared. I hope we can see you around here much more often. All right, this episode of Viewers Comments is brought to you by DistroKid, my favorite service to put music out to online retailers like Apple Music, Amazon, Google Play, and Spotify, plus over 150 smaller online music retailers as well. It costs a whopping $20 a year, and you get to keep 100% of your earnings. DistroKid also has lots of cool features, including instant verification on Spotify, change your image on Apple Music and iTunes, and add credits and liner notes to stores and streaming services. And there's a brand new synced lyrics feature, so you can have the lyrics play along to your Instagram and Apple Music posts. This is especially great if your singer loves to cup the mic and nobody can understand him. You can also use the Teams function, which allows you to split your earnings automatically among your bandmates, so you can stop explaining to the bass player how he'll get paid and you can get back to making music. I use DistroKid to put my music online, including this channel's theme song, The Eagle Has Landed, and we even got a license for DistroKid for that cover of Moon on the Water we did a while back. Go to distrokid.com/VIP/Spectre today and grab yourself a 7% discount on the first year. Follow the link in the description below. Now back to the show. And now it's time for...
Whined like a bitch when you heard Glenn speak. Now your comment is the butthurt of the week.
Hey, can you not bring your religious opinions into this YouTube channel? It's not funny, it's not clever. This channel is about music, not religion.
Well, I can tell you haven't been watching this channel for very long. Now have you? Now, normally, religion varies from just being a mild annoyance to, a worldwide pedophile cover-up ring. And as of late, though, it's gone from that to becoming a public health hazard. I'll be very clear. I've always been opposed to religious privilege. I don't think people should be granted special rights from the rest of us just because they believe a bunch of superstitious nonsense. I'm totally opposed to that. So when you get preachers and pastors who think that the social isolation rules don't apply to them so they can have their services and put not only their congregations, but the general public at risk for spreading the coronavirus, I've got a gigantic fucking problem with that, and yes, I will call that shit out. Look, you don't need to attend some ridiculous ritual so some guy can con you out of your fucking money. Stay the fuck home, wash your fucking hands, your God is still not going to exist whether or not you go to a fucking religious service or you stay the fuck home. But if you stay the fuck home, you lessen the risk of putting the rest of us in danger as well. And that just doesn't apply to the religious as well. If you don't have any reason to go anywhere right now, stay the fuck home. Stay safe.
I usually love your content, but you have a certain ignorance when it comes to death metal and the more extreme genres in general. It's fine if it's not for you, but there is no need for the hostility. It's all metal, man.
Oh man, from one butthurt religious guy to another butthurt religious guy. In this case, it's death metal as the religion. Dude, my big complaint with death metal isn't the lack of originality in all the bands that sound very similar to one another. It's the lack of branding and being unable to tell the bands apart by the logos that you can't even fucking read.
Lots of bands will have fake drums, as long as the drummer programs them and he can deliver them live. Creativity reigns supreme. If it allows people to get the music out, fair play to them.
That's the real trick though, isn't it? Being able to pull it off live.
Fair Fake drums are just the best thing that ever happened, so just go and fake your drums.
Yep, metal got a lot better when we started letting robots play the drums instead of people.
Hey Glenn, I'd love to hear how you deal with the tire kickers, people who fish for quotes, and other assorted time wasters. Being dealing with this for 5 or so years, and it just drove me to consider just shutting her down. The amount of people I've turned in a demo reel for and then say it sounds great, we'll get back to you, and numerous spec mixes with all the same result is just way too large for a figure to accurately recall. Love to hear your thoughts if you've got the time. Cheers from the Sticks of Ontario.
Hey, Sean, thanks so much for writing in. People who want spec mixes, that kind of thing, never release anything until you get fucking paid. If you hand over your mix, they are going to vanish because you have no leverage. I've always done this from day one, always make sure I am paid in full before I hand over anything. No exceptions, not ever. If that's not good for you, then go to the next studio. That's fine with me. Now, my advice for you, if you have people fishing for rates and that kind of thing, and just be like, okay, well, how many songs do you have? And how far are you away from being able to come into the studio? That usually separates the wheat from the chaff pretty quick. Good luck to you, man. Hopefully that helps.
What would be preferable for a recording studio on a budget 20 to 30,000 Australian dollars, a low-endish console such as the Toft ATB range, or a high-end converter such as the Apollo X8P?
Unlike what you're going to hear on Gear Sluts, where they just recommend converters. The difference between a good set of converters and a great set of converters is about that fucking big. The audience I have back here are absolutely fucking stellar. The RME Fireface UFX Plus I've got back there. That's a $2,000, $3,000 set of converters, and it's fucking unbelievable. And if you drop a lot more money, you're really not going to see that big of a difference. A console I wouldn't bother with because what we've got going on in software can definitely do about 99% of what your consoles can do. So save your money there. I would recommend good monitors. The KS Digitals I have here are fucking stellar. Highly recommend those. Or maybe some PMCs. Those are fucking unreal. These are higher end monitors I'm talking about. Good monitors are going to be absolutely paramount to getting good mixes. The other thing would be decent acoustic treatment. Spend your money there. You want your mixes to be able to translate. You want to make your mix position to be as sonically neutral as possible. And you want to get SonarWorks so you can tweak your mixes out that way a little bit. I still need to do a show on SonarWorks. I really should do that during this whole fucking lockdown. The other thing I would recommend is if you're going to do drums, invest in a very good set of microphones. The Lewitts are killer. The Earthworks mics are just fucking outstanding. They're probably the best drum mics I've ever used in my entire life. Good mics are definitely going to be far more valuable to you than a console. I think with the whole gear culture, we do tend to get wrapped up a little bit in the things that really don't make all that big of a difference just because we like spending money. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but I do feel if you're going to drop that kind of money, it really pays to do your due diligence and put the money where it's going to make the biggest difference. And for me, that's always been acoustic treatment.
Hey Glenn, wondering what are your takes on recording with tape compared to digital recording? Have you ever done it before or know of someone else who has? And what do you think are the pros and cons of recording with either method?
Yes, I came up on analog. We had a 16-track 2-inch at Sheridan College where I was doing media arts. I wasn't even an audio major. I was a multimedia guy. So, I did not only audio, but I did film and video and all kinds of stuff. So everything was kind of all over the place. So it's one of the reasons I've been able to do video content at the level that I do is because I did that shit in college. My experience on recording on tape was the Studer was broken half the time, so we could never use it. Tape cost $300 a reel back in 1989, and it's probably a lot more expensive. And most bands would be probably crushed underfoot like Tokyo was to Godzilla when they try playing to tape, because there's no undo button. You have to bring it. None of that editing shit. There's none of the time alignment and whatnot. You've got to actually play fucking music. And that's one thing I kind of wish we could bring back, is because when you start pushing musicians harder and they know they've got no fucking net underneath, they're going to play better. And we've gotten some amazing stuff through the whole analog realm. And it's kind of fallen by the wayside these days, and we kind of get just computer-assisted nonsense, and it's really fucking boring.
Hey Glenn, big fan here. Just wondering how you reconcile using MIDI bass versus hating MIDI drums. I understand your review of said MIDI bass was probably sponsored, but I might suggest the argument you used to support use of MIDI bass can also be used to support use of MIDI drums. Keep up the great work, Glenn.
Hey, Christopher, I think that's a fair question. I did that last fall. I did something on the punk bass MIDI VST, which I thought was kind of neat. Now, here's my take on it, and you can take it for what it's worth. Bass is very easy to record. Bass players are not at risk of being replaced by machines. Drums, on the other hand, are very difficult to record, and the drummer is at risk of being replaced. The art of recording drums is becoming a very rare skill. Not many people have it. Most people will just load up a MIDI drum set, program it, play their guitars to it, and that's it. And nobody's bothering to learn to record the instrument anymore. That has been my argument. Recording a bass is easy. Plug it in, play. It couldn't be simpler. Recording real drums and making them sound awesome, that takes real skill, and that skill is vanishing.
Hey Glenn, I'm in high school and my band can't get together to play or record anything due to the state of being on lockdown because of the junk going on with COVID-19. How would you go about recording the different tracks over long distance like this? Cheers from Oregon.
I've done that stuff all the time. I mean, like, I've got Jackson Ward and John Suki in Indiana. They send me tracks all the time. My very good friend Siegfried Song from Korea sends vocal tracks. It's like somebody lays down the bed track, you fire that off to the next guy, he lays down his tracks, they fire that off to the next person, and so on and so forth, and then finally comes back to the original studio for mixing. That's usually how it works here anyway. The only problem is it does take a considerable amount of time. It probably slows things down by 300 to 400% instead of, everybody coming into the same studio one day, because it's just lag and time zone differences and all the rest of the crowd. But it can be done, just be patient. Good luck, man.
I just learned today that Metallica has been using Axe effects for their live shows with solid-state rack-mounted power amps since 2013. I was quite astounded.
Well, I remember being a guest of Shinedown in 2015 and hanging out backstage, and most of the bands, this was like a major 2-stage festival, everybody was either playing Kempers or Axe effects. On the road, it makes sense. They're solid state, there's less parts to break, you don't have to worry about tubes getting smashed, they're very resilient, and there's a lot less weight involved as well. So it really does make a huge difference in terms of convenience, but the other thing to remember is the audience probably is not going to be able to tell the difference between a tube amp and between a digital recreation. I'm like, that's the thing, the Kempers and Axe effects have gotten that good. So yeah, why not? For live anyway.
Glenn, question: after seeing this video, I decided to get on keto 1 week down, and damn, do I miss junk food. I'll survive. Anywho, my questions are, did you feel like shit after 1 week?
Dude, what the fuck?
I seem to be going through withdrawals from sugar or some shit. Also, is it okay to drink Diet Coke? You mentioned this is an order from In-N-Out. I look at Headbanger's Kitchen videos and absolutely no thing other than water or tea. Just checking because I feel I could kill for soda, LOL. That's my fat self trying to take over.
In my case, I gave up sugar for about 8 months before I went on to keto, so the transition wasn't nearly as bad. I recommend having Gatorade Zero on hand to help flush all the crap out of your system. It will make a big difference. The thing is, once you get through the first week or two, you're gonna find yourself feeling fucking amazing. I know I sure do. I still drink a little bit of Diet Coke every now and then, but honestly, since the lockdown, I haven't gone anywhere in a couple weeks. I haven't had any Diet Coke in at least 2 weeks, and I don't miss it in the least. So that's pretty fucking cool. The cool thing is, after a few weeks, your taste buds are gonna reset and you're not gonna miss any of that shit. Then you're gonna start wondering why in the hell you were putting that crap into your system to begin with.
Well, dickhead, I'm a bass player, let me tell you. Fuck, I forgot where I was going. I'll be back at you, knothead Glenn.
Well, thanks for writing in, man. Good luck with those bass lessons. One day you'll get it. All right, everybody, that's it for this episode. Thank you for watching. Thanks for hitting that subscribe button. Believe me, it really does help the show out. So if you like what I do, hit that fucking button. It really makes all the difference in the world. Thanks so much to DistroKid for sponsoring the episode. And please, if you want to do a video submission question, follow the link in the description below. Those are an awful lot of fun. I love putting you guys on the show. And until next time, wash your hands, stay home, stay safe, and we'll all get through this. Take care.